I just had this thought. I remember when I was a kid, I used to get lost hours and hours in gaming, computers. I'm nowhere near an expert level, computer programmer or anything like that. I'd love to have that skill level, but technically my skills are pretty shocking. I like the concepts and everything, but anyway. So when I was a kid, I used to go over to my friend's house who had, I think it was an Amiga 500 and a Commodore 64, and those old computers that just after tape drive, you get into floppy disks, and now we have the save disk icon on our computer, but kids these days don't even know what that icon means. Anyway, so I used to lose days, literally days. I'd go there in the morning to my friend's house, we'd play computer games all day long, and then I'd come home when his parents would kick me out for dinner and, go back home and have dinner at your own place, because it was like 4 days in a row and school holidays and all that sort of stuff. And so, I've been working my absolute tail off trying to get my business up to a point where I can now really focus on training and doing this type of work and putting my knowledge out there. And for a little bit of downtime, for a little bit of self-care, I ended up buying myself a PlayStation 4, and I started, I probably put a couple hours in here and there just to see what the games were like, and then I didn't go back to it for a good couple of weeks. And the other day I'm going into the game shop to buy some PG rated games for the kids that live in the homes that we run, and I see the VR helmet from PS4, and I'm like, this looks pretty cool and scary at the same time. I think I'd better try it out before I let the kids onto it, just to make sure that it's safe. And so I end up buying one, and I get into this thing, get it home, set it all up, and I put the helmet on, and it tripped me out. Like, here we are, I'm sitting in my living room, or standing in my living room with the helmet on, and my mind is transported to an undersea world, or to, downtown London, and I'm a gangster there shooting up all the bad guys. Or I get transported into the future where I'm a pilot on some alien craft that jumps through space on all these different weird angles, just to name a few. And within about 5 minutes, I was totally immersed in this thing. Even though I knew it was a game, I found myself reacting and interacting with the characters inside the game. And really, all I had was the helmet on, the speakers in, the audio in, and of course the hand controller, which is not even the most evolved version of this type of gaming technology. The new hand controllers are still not released here in Australia properly. You have to go on the waiting list. So I'm not even fully immersed physically in the game yet, but I'm having the experience of being immersed in it in a matter of a few minutes, like not even 10 minutes, okay? It got to the point where, like a lot of people are reporting, is that I started to get a bit of motion sickness, because my mind was starting to accept the virtual reality as real, and my physical body was still in my lounge room, and the signals didn't match up from body to brain. So there was an incongruency there, and it caused me to have motion sickness. So before it got too bad, I took the helmet off, and I was just like, whoa, this is an incredible new level, new dimension of experience and reality. And literally, now that it's in the gaming computerized model, you can be anyone, be anywhere, in any time. And where have we heard that before? And be anyone. So in some of these games, depending on how they're designed, depends on how much immersion you get in the game, right? So and I found myself wanting more and more senses in the game to be able to participate in the game even better. Now, some of you might have seen me in Seattle, and during the costume party I was dressed as Batman. Well, there's a Batman game, so of course I was so into that, and I bought that straight away. And so I'm in the game, and I'm Batman in the game, right? And you look down, and there's the utility belt, although you can't see your body, and you've got all your gadgets, and then, you know, when you move the controller around, there's your hand in physical space. Anyway, after playing this and having a great time, I took the helmet off, and I was looking at my hands in this reality, this time and space, and I was becoming aware of how sensitive the body is and how many senses we have at our disposal, not just in terms of hands and, you know, limbs, but the little tiny piece of skin on the back of your index knuckle. You can feel that, you know, and it's so immersive, and we've had this experience all our lives that we don't even recognize it half the time. And I had to really sit there, and I had to start to become aware of all my senses all over again. And I started to realize just how immersive this reality in the third dimension is, and how this could very well be an advanced form of virtual reality, and we could very well be somewhere else. So our true self, our consciousness, could be somewhere else, and where have we heard that before? Where have we trained in that before? So here we are in meditation in the workshops, and we're becoming aware of the space. We're detaching from all these senses, and then we're becoming aware of the senses in the internal space, and lighting up all those neural pathways in the brain to give us more sensitivity and more awareness and more interactivity with the internal world, which obviously, you know, if you're doing it on the inside, it's going to affect you on the outside too. So therefore, of course, we're going to start to become more aware of our senses in physical space, in our actual body. We're going to perceive new things in new ways, and it's going to enhance our experience. Now, at first, just like the experience of putting the VR headset on for the first time, it took me a little bit of getting used to. I loved it, but I could just see how lost I could get in it. You know, like I got lost for days and days on end playing games as a kid. So you know, I think armed with this kind of knowledge, and seeing the world like the Matrix, that it is like a game, and becoming aware of just how advanced this illusion can be, you know, it makes me think about how long it's actually been like this for, and how advanced life actually is. If it were a computer game or something like that, then how evolved is this? Like, if you think about it in terms of linear time, it's mind-blowing. It's staggering to see just how advanced the technology is of information biology. So much so that, like in my last video, I talked about language. When a technology gets so advanced it becomes invisible, that our very senses, how we sense things in this reality, our interface with it is so ingrained in us that it has now become invisible, to the point where most of life, most people in life are walking around half asleep in zombie mode, that we need to actually detach from it and bring our awareness away from third dimensional reality. In other words, take the VR helmet off for a few minutes a day, go into meditation, go into the vastness of space, as Joe says, and detach from all those addictions, because we get so involved in them that we need the higher and higher hit all the time, to the point where we're so numbed by it that we don't even notice it anymore. So by detaching from it, going into meditation, becoming aware of the senses without actually moving and without buying into the emotions, then we can almost, in a sense, reset the clock, reconfigure ourselves, and then come back into this time and space, into our bodies, into our minds, and then go from there in a new body, in a new mind, new time, new space, new place. And that to me is really powerful, because when you do come back, you come back with your senses so heightened that, for me anyway, it can be a little overwhelming. I have to get used to the new configuration, because obviously if I've fallen asleep and become numb to my senses previously to this, then the type of feedback that I was requiring to feel myself in this reality was so high that when I came back and reset, it'd be a bit like a drunk person, who'd been off alcohol for a while, and then you have one or two drinks and you're flying, and it affects you in all sorts of different ways. So there you go, just some food for thought, and just came up in my mind, and I thought it was an interesting thing to think about.